respect, and gratitude, everyone. Welcome to our High Frequency Living Quantum Light Property Clearing Chronicles tonight, where we have Tarvars of the Sun and Lauren of the Sun and Tiffany of the Sun and myself, Diane of the Sun. This will be a wonderful, exciting evening of stories and experiences about the Quantum Light Property Clearing Service. So before we get started, a few announcements. High Frequency Living offers live streams which focus on high frequency living lifestyle topics like meditation, breath work, wellness, and nutrition. Of the Sun classes and modalities like quantum light property clearing, soul translation, light body movement, and many other high frequency topics. Join us every Wednesday at noon Eastern for a midday meditation, and every Thursday at noon for the Of the Sun live stream with Lo Tentavars. And they are discussing the quantum light property, or the call for the truth divination cards. And they go into in-depth into one card each week. And then each Friday we have different topics here at 7 p.m. And next Friday will be in Lakesh Studio One's Evolutionary Book Club. And that will be at 7 p.m. also Eastern on this YouTube channel. And we will be discussing the book Youthing by Sonia Nilsson. And Sonia will be joining us. She is a natural medicine woman and part of the Other Sun's Light Body movement. And she wrote this book to bring forward ancient rejuvenation practices along with science of longevity. So she brings forward ancient practices, but also in today's world. So that'll be an interesting discussion, because she talks about things like fasting and alkalinizing our bodies and things like that we do at Of the Sun as well. So that wraps up our announcements. And I invite you to join me in calling for the truth. Shall we call for the truth? Shall we call to see the truth in all that we see? Shall we call to hear the truth in all that we hear? Shall we have the courage to speak the truth? Shall we invite nothing less than the truth into all of our experiences? And shall we call for the highest possible vibration? Shall we call for the highest possible vibration? Shall we call for the highest possible vibration? Okay. So once again, welcome everyone, and welcome Tarvars and Lauren and Tiffany. And I'm very excited about our discussion tonight. So I'll turn it over to Tarvars.
Yes, and Lakesh Veritas, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you, seasoned practitioners, property clearers. Again, being able to share unique facets of the modality. And for those tuning in today, our topic, we're going to be exploring quantum light property clearing from the perspective of clearing travels. So one of the modalities within quantum light property clearing is the idea of clearing travels, transportation, all things encapsulated. And it's such a timely topic this evening, because if you've been to the airport, if you've watched the news or been on TikTok, you see what's happening, especially in the major cities where there's those hubs like Atlanta, New York, California, etc. I actually experienced it. So the timing is so perfect. So we're going to be going over some experiences regarding travel clearings, but I want to lay a little bit of groundwork. So people often come to us for the assistance of clearing paths, and whether it's domestic or international, it's the idea of clearing your way of interferences. We know what it looks like when we go on family trips, and then like almost the worst thing that could happen sometimes happens. Like, oh my gosh, clearing the path can help offset this. And so typically when we're clearing the path, we're clearing, let's say if there's an itinerary, there's a hotel or an Airbnb, flight plans, transits or shuttles. Sometimes people even tell me about excursions. I'm like, yeah, let's clear that sailboat excursion. The experience. And so it's really, we're looking to raise the vibration or collapse any of the energetic interferences surrounding the experience of the travel, which in many cases results in having the highest possible outcome. And so we have so many great stories. Just kind of wanted to lay that groundwork. But anyone wants to jump in, starting with stories first? If not, I'll jump in. I'm over here. I'm loaded. I'm just
I know. And you probably have so many from actually being the practitioner of it as well for all the clients, like you mentioned. This is bringing to mind. So first and foremost, we're so much in a one mind moment from our current experiences here with you currently traveling and us sharing our travel stories. When I spoke with the consciousness of quantum light property clearing yesterday, that was the first thing they shared to speak about was travel. So while all of this, the consciousness knew that we were in this space of travel, in this frequency, and how humanity will benefit from hearing so many of our truths. And so that was the preface of my story. And it allowed me to remember something when I was an early clearer. And Laota, she tells us, write that down, journal that, memorialize that, because you'll forget. And I did. And I've done that before. It's not to say that I've forgotten the experience, but I haven't had it in the forefront of my mind. And so revisiting this experience really helped me move into greater appreciation and the actualization of the power of clearing and what it can do for us in our day-to-day experience. So I have this story. I was a newbie clearer, and when I say newbie, it was maybe like a year and a half, 2 years in. And that was still relatively new and still learning all the different understandings. And I was traveling with my daughter, who at the time was about 5 or 6 years old. And we were traveling back home. And so it was a long flight. It was and 2 flights. We had to have a connection. And we were actually coming back from Hawaii. And so we had to take the first flight and then allow ourselves to get to this next connection. And she had experienced an injury that affected her leg while we were traveling, and she wasn't able to walk very well. So here I am, mom, right? And I've got little one, and I've got luggage, and I've got, tickets and all these things I need to be mindful of. Now, I should preface this by saying the day before we traveled, I cleared. So I cleared the flight, I cleared the space, I cleared the path. So I was in the understanding and the energy of clearing. And the power of also clearing your path is so integral into the understanding. And Tarvars, you bring this forward sometimes about this idea of re-adhere to the clearing. That was so much the experience. So I was prompted to ask and move up into the space of asking questions about everything and utilizing the tools we learned through property clearing, which is to ask, always ask, never assume, and be specific. And we get to the airport after our first flight, and I have her next to me, and I'm waiting. I needed to take a shuttle to get to the right portion of the airport for the next flight. And so the first shuttle is approaching, and I'm like, yes, the shuttle's here. I can get on the bus. and I was prompted to ask. And they said, no, don't get on this one. I'm like, okay. So this happened about 3 or 4 times. And I'm like, 3 or 4 times? Which shuttle am I going to get onto? Finally, about the 5th shuttle, I got the approval to get onto the bus. So I did. And I was holding her and struggling. So people came forward actually out of the shuttle to help load my luggage and help me with whatever I needed. And I thought, I paid attention to that. I was like, that's excellent. Thank you. Move into gratitude. So we get off the shuttle. The driver of the shuttle then comes and gets my luggage and helps me and said, where do you need to go? I will help you. So he left the shuttle. As I was doing that, I turned and I was looking, I needed to take an elevator up. I turned and behind me, just out of nowhere, there was a wheelchair. I was like, oh, a wheelchair. And I'm like, I could use that and put my daughter in it and my luggage underneath. And it was literally in the middle of this open space, unattended. So I was like, oh, okay. So thank you. I get into the wheelchair. We get through all the security that we needed to do. Because she was in the wheelchair with her injury, we were able to bypass security and move through a different line. And I then was waiting at the gate and they came up to me and said, you are going to get, premier boarding. So priority boarding, you'll be able to get on before anyone else because she was in the wheelchair and had her injury. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's amazing. And so we were able to get on. No one else at the time. It was just us. We boarded. I was able to carry her. A flight attendant helped with our carry-on baggage. And we had such a wonderful experience. And all the time I was readhering. I was going into one mind. I was clearing the path and moving into that experience. When we got to Chicago, which was our final destination, there was an individual waiting at the gate with a wheelchair for her. And this was 5 a.m. So here we have another person coming forward through the consciousness of this clearing to be of assistance. They took us all the way to a cab where we were able to get in. And when I got into the cab, I needed to take her to be seen. So we went to get medical attention. And when we got to the location, I only had $100 bill on me. And so I offered that to the cab driver and she said, do you have anything smaller? I said, I don't. And and she said, you know what? This is on me. May everything go well for you today. And so we didn't have to pay for the cab. When we get into the location, and it was an urgent care, it was an emergency room area. There was a long line actually earlier in the day, and we were checking in, and behind me, I felt a tap on my shoulder. It happened to be a friend of mine from grade school who was a nurse in that area who was able to assist us and get us checked in and into a room immediately. So I say all this to say, and it goes on throughout the whole process, that because of the clearing, because of clearing the flight, clearing the space, clearing the travel, clearing the path, continuously asking, checking in, my experience was beyond what I could have asked for in my own understanding. But it was also an awareness to me, the truth of aligning with knowing that everything will be brought forward that you need by simply asking and clearing. So remembering this story was so powerful for me. And we can utilize this in our day-to-day experiences simply because I had this understanding as a property clearer to clear. So you clear out anything so that everything you need comes forward. So that was a pretty epic memory and experience for me that I wanted to share.
I'd say that was super epic. I have just a few thoughts, and I can feel Tiffany. I feel you, Tiffany. Like, I'm about to jump in. Just really a couple of different points. Hearing a story like this, one has to think, okay, is it just serendipitous, or like, what is it, coincidence? What is this that we're looking at? Because there were just too many moments. Very key point that happened, because there's a lot of continuity, or there's key things within understanding what's really taking place, which is the thing you need at the time that you need it. And also, when you kind of step back and see the likelihood of that occurring in the way in which it occurred, it's like, okay, that's the clearing. The clearing is moving, and then being able to identify it. I think this is so important. And you were touching on how you would, for example, the wheelchair, and you said thank you, which this is actually something I've been sharing with the clearers to begin to say thank you when we acknowledge something from our guidance, because they're always there. And I think that there's so many magical things happens, and we're just used to the magic. It's just like, okay, yeah, magic, life is magical. It's like, no, thank you. 'Cause it didn't have to be this way. So I see the beauty in that. But ultimately, this idea of exactly what you need, everything that you said was the highest possible outcome. Highest possible outcome, everything. I'm gonna pull back because there's so many points. But Tiffany, what are your thoughts on this?
Oh my goodness, where to begin, right? I co-sign everything Tarvars just said, Lauren. What a testament to what we actually do, right? Like this is when, even when I'm clearing properties and then I'm giving the clearing report to clients and having that conversation, I'm constantly reminded and constantly affirmed, yes, this works. Yes, this works. Yes, this works. And day in and day out, I don't go anywhere without clearing. I don't go to the grocery store. We're talking about long-term travel here, and I do want to talk about
Yeah.
that, but also short-term. I don't locally, I don't go to the market. I don't go to the birthday party. I don't walk down and get the mail before I clear my path to walk down and get the mail. And so, and I've had the experience of what happens when I do those things and what happens when I don't do those things. And so it's just a habit and a pattern that I am in, as we all are, on a regular basis, to have the highest possible outcome always in life. And it doesn't mean that we don't encounter negative, because sometimes encountering negative is the outcome that you need to then learn the lesson you need to learn to get to the next point, right? I mean, everything always is as it's supposed to be. There are so many travel stories that I can share. One in particular I want to bring forward because it wasn't just a going to one location. It was a year and a half of travel. And it was within, I don't know, maybe a week or so after a shutdown happened, in this country with COVID. And we didn't know it was going to happen. So we had decided to stop renting at our house that we were renting out on the beach, and we bought an RV, and we were set to travel, go to every single national park, and it was all exciting, and we were just ready to go and just have this whirlwind experience. And then we were told to shelter in place. And our place was an RV on wheels, and all the other places to put an RV on wheels were closed. And so I continued to clear the RV. I continued to clear our path constantly. And the first place that we went, actually, and luckily, people don't normally camp there when it's closed, but it was this fairgrounds. It was called the Del Mar Fairgrounds, completely shut down. One other RV was there. It was this enormous parking lot. And we just said, we don't have anywhere else to go. Can we stay here? So we stayed there. And and all the beaches are closed. I'm in California. So all of the places that, we had intended on being able to go were shut down, including the national parks. We stay in this parking lot. We stay there for 2 months. Attached to the parking lot is this gorgeous beach with this sand that is accessible by no other place other than the parking lot. So we name it Jade's Beach. We have all of these magical beach experiences that no one else in California is having because the beaches are closed. And I continue to clear our path. When we are ready to leave Jade's Beach and this parking lot, 2 months later, the national parks are still closed. But I know that we are going to find the most ideal place for us to be, because I'm clearing our path. I'm clearing the RV. And all of a sudden, I call Pinnacles National Park, which is a little bit inland of Big Sur, which we would have never gone to because we had planned on traveling up the coast and hitting all the places on the water. And so this was inland of Big Sur, which is a pretty famous national park on the water. And they say, listen, we're closed. We're not open to the public. But if you really have nowhere else to go, there are a few RVs that we've let in here. Don't tell anyone else, they say. So we go to Pinnacles National Park. We have this entire national park, as well as 5 other families, to ourselves for an entire month. And right when we get there, and I'm clearing the whole way, I'm clearing not just the RV, not just our path, I'm clearing us, I'm clearing every moment, I'm clearing the experience that we have with the other people who are there, I'm clearing the actual spot that we're going to be parking in, I'm clearing the gas tank so we get there in time, I'm clearing the every little detail, the food that we bring in, the water that we're bringing in. I'm constantly in this mode of clearing. I'm clearing any negative and frustration that we're bringing in, any negative and frustration that might happen when we're on the phone with someone. I mean, I'm clearing every single detail. We get there, we park this RV, our RV next to ish, you know, back then 6 feet, however long apart from this other RV, who happens to have 5 children. But people have been spending now weeks and months away from people. So everyone's afraid to interact. So we're standing, you know, distance away, talking to everyone. And all of a sudden, my daughter at the time is 2. She and the other 2-year-old, and we're focusing on ourselves, like, okay, how long have you been here? Where are you from? This and that. And the 2-year-olds just come together in front of us and just touch heads and then just start. I could just like boohoo cry right now, remembering this, and start hugging. And like they hadn't had contact with anyone other than like their family, like us. And we look at the other parents and we look at Kevin and I look at each other and we all just say, I guess we're doing this. And so we just become this beautiful blended family for about over a month's time there. And this woman, who is the mother of these 5 children, was homeschooling all of them. And I had never even thought about that as an option. I mean, my kid was 2, I taught high school English, like it was just not really in my mindset. But I learned all of these things. She was reading her children the Boxcar Kid children books. And it's just so, I want to say it's so wild, it's so fascinating, but no, it's the result of the clearings. Yeah. And I learned not only what it looks like to homeschool a bunch of children. She had a 2-year-old up to a 14-year-old, but I also learned that it was possible. And I could see the experience that the children had from being homeschooled, even though we never even sat down to one of the times she was reading the Boxcar Kid books to her children. It ended up being a book that 2 years later came back into our lives, and it is Jade's favorite. I mean, we've legitimately probably read over 100 of them as a family. And it was just time and time and time again, every lockstep was spectacular. We went on hikes, 6-mile hikes to the pinnacle of pinnacles, didn't see a person. It was we would have never gone there, and we could have never had that experience there had the times and the clearings and everything lined up as they were supposed to. And so as we left Pinnacles and as we continued on our travels throughout our entire experience, we just had experience like that after experience like that. And we traveled for 1.5 years. And would you believe we never got sick? Not once in the 1.5 years that we traveled. And it was just, to this day, our goal when we started traveling was to stay in every national park. Some of them opened, some of them didn't. We ended up staying outside of some of the parks when they started to open. But to this day, that 1.5 years of our lives is the most magical, most spectacular experience that we have ever had. And many people, when we talk to them, it was the most stressful time. It was a time when everybody was inside and no one could see anyone. But everything came out of it in the way it was supposed to for everybody. But the clearing the path, the clearing the RV, the clearing the experiences, removing any interference patterns along the way allowed us to truly have an experience of a lifetime that we grew tremendously from as a family and as individuals. And I don't know what would have happened, and I don't even want to think of what would have happened had I not been clearing every day, all day. And it made such a difference. So that's I have more, but I'm going to stop there. And that was a year and a half of clearing constantly. And I can still feel the vibration of the beauty that came from it.
Tiffany, there's just too many juicy good points to touch on, but I'll touch on 3 because I'm just looking for core concepts. I mean, all of it is beautiful, especially the 2 children touching together and then bringing the family together, breaking and collapsing the fear. Very powerful. But I want to again speak on some of the underlining core principles that are playing out underneath these experiences. You talked about clearing the details, and you were in the nitty gritty, as they say. You were in the nooks and crannies, and much like when we're clearing properties or even just physically cleaning, it makes a complete difference when you get into the details of a thing, versus just kind of a broad brushstroke. And I've noticed that as well with property clearings and travel clearings alike. It matters. And the more detailed you are, the deeper the clearing will stick. But it allows for these magical, beautiful moments to unfold and reveal themselves, which takes me to my next idea. Much like clearing properties, the field is lifted of the old imprint, and it allows for new thought to arise. And it's the same thing for travel clearings. We're clearing the fields in which the souls will be traveling through. So while we are moving through these spaces, the vibrational field or the memory is collapsed, allowing for new thought. Oh, well, let's call a pinnacle. Or what was the other thing here? Made a couple of notes.
This I didn't say. Let's stop in Gilroy at the garlic fields and buy massive amounts of garlic and start fermenting garlic to boost our immune system. It was all of the things that, yes.
As you were saying that, it triggered back a new thought of homeschooling in the way in which you were, it's like, look at this new opportunity arising, surfacing. And so it's the same thing that happens in spaces and places where, the fields are always reinforming us, and, we end up rehashing whatever was there. And this is so powerful to see how even through the travel clearing, there's a creation process, a newness that is unfolding through the clearing as well. So those are some of the hot points that I wanted to make, because again, so powerful. And one last thing, yes, clearing the path regularly throughout the day. When you see what it does, you will do the same. You'll be like, you know what? Let me clear my path to the store. Let me look at my itinerary for the day, clear the path for success with my clients, or homeschooling, or being at the game with my daughter, or whatever it may be, right? And so its application is limitless. It's just a matter, I think, of seeing the value in it. I'm going to pull back. I want to chime in. Diane, you got some thoughts on any of this that has been shared? It's very robust stories between both Lauren and Tiffany.
Yes, those are very robust stories. Thank you both for sharing those things. I have a travel experience that Tarvars, you had done the travel clearing for me. When I drove to, this was a few years ago, I was driving with some other people. We went to Savannah to a conference, and I was driving. It was in my car, and so I felt like I was flying because it was like I wasn't touching the ground. It was so smooth, and the time went by faster. All the time, yes, we were always clearing as well, clearing the path as we were going too. But we went to this convention, and it was in a big convention center. So there was a lot of people there. And so our experience, though, went very smoothly. All the parts of it went smoothly. The Airbnb and all the different days that we went to the conference, and we had a booth set up, and it just went very smoothly. And I remember I was going through a few things at that time as well. I was buying my house. And so I had some of those things that I was clearing also. So not only traveling, but moving and so it was such a wonderful experience that it really brought forward to me that even if I'm not traveling like out in an airplane or somewhere, but as you said, Tiffany, even traveling to the grocery store, you know, I clear also before I go. I always clear my path, and it makes things so smooth. And I've realized too, as I go to the same places, after clearing it so often, that I get in the car. I can get in the car at 2 o'clock, which is like around here is like school lets out and all this stuff. And there's nobody on the road. I am driving clear, and it's so helpful. And it's not only helpful for me, I know I'm helping everyone else as well. But these are it's such a wonderful thing, the travel clearing and clearing the path. But it is so important that we remember to do it and re-adhere. I am re-adhering to clearing the path while I'm driving. And especially if I encounter something that comes up, I'm like, okay, let's re-adhere to clearing that path. If I have to get home by a certain time. And so those were some of my thoughts with the clearing the path.
So let's hash out a little bit of that. The idea of re-adhering. I think that it touches on like protection as well, because when we think about clearing the path, it is a form of protection. We're looking to make sure everything goes smoothly, we're all safe, and we have a wonderful, buoyant, jovial experience for whatever we're about to get into. And so it is this idea of keeping out anything that would uh, prevent that. And so this idea of re-adhering to the protection, it's so funny because like sometimes we'll call for protection and then step right out of it because of our fear. And most people don't understand that that we have that kind of power. We can call on help, and then we can sidestep it. This is what it looks like to me in my mind, like a big shield of some sort. It looks very different in many different iterations, but whenever I articulate this, it's like a shield, and we step right from behind the shield into open fire where we can get pew, 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 oh, negativity, right? And not knowing that it's through our unchecked fears and negative thoughts and emotions that is perpetuating this. And so this re-adhering and keeping ourselves in check. Yes, I called on my protection earlier, or yes, I cleared the path. Let me pop myself back into what I initiated because it's still there. I've just turned my face away from it. And because of the levels of condition that we find ourselves in, it does require that type of uh, intensity, so to say, in discipline to get back in it, get back in it. When you think about when people do Ho'oponopono, sometimes they say, okay, I'm going to do it for an hour, and then they get distracted 2 minutes in, right? It's that same thing, just understanding where we are and the necessity to do these minor yet effective things. I'd like to share a story, uh, very current, and it touches on everything that everyone shared. So I flew through Atlanta Hartsfield International yesterday or today, early in the morning. And it was interesting because leading up to it, there was so much fear. I was getting fear projected onto me from my mother. Um, I'm not as much on social media anymore, but I do go on. And when I do, sometimes I can feel the demagnetization, especially because when people are sharing information as they do, it's more than just information. It's fear based. It's like, hey, this is what's happening in the news. It's like people have become these little micro news is the blues sellers on social media because they're not the information isn't empowering and strengthening. It's kind of leaving you like, damn, I don't know what I'm going to do. And so I have learned that it is important to know what's going on, but keep some distance between you and the thing. I don't have to watch 20 videos of people stuck in the line to understand what's happening. My consciousness is going to be informed. So this was all leading up to my travels. And so I cleared And in a similar fashion to Tiffany, all the details, as many things as I could think of that I would encounter, because that matters, right? And I do find that sometimes things will pop up that's unaccounted for that requires you to do a little something, whether it's re-adhere or do a little something extra, which I got some stories on that. And it's specifically what Tiffany was talking about when we encounter the negative, because it's information and there's a lesson. So, long story short, I walk. Well, I my experience with parking and the shuttle, Grace and Ease, it was beautiful. I get dropped off in front of the airport, and as soon as I go up to the main floor, it's lines everywhere. It's so many lines, so many bodies. I don't even know where to start. But I'm tuned in. I'm listening, and I think all of you mentioned the idea of staying tuned in. I think also Lauren, checking with your guidance, right, as you're moving through, because they're speaking to you. Even people who you know don't hear or have calibration, we can tune into frequency. Does this feel right? The guttural instinct of go left. So my guidance is like, keep walking. I'm like, okay, keep walking. They say, go to the bathroom. You might have to do that. I'm like, okay, that's right. I'm on liquid fast, so let's do that. Might be a long wait. So I get out of the bathroom, and then I'm still at odds of I don't know where to go, where the line begins or ends. And so I see a group of people walking. They're workers. They have yellow vests. I don't know what they did though. They just had yellow vests. You look like you're helpful. You can help me. So I asked, where does the line for TSA start? He said, just go around that corner and you'll be able to find it. I go around the corner and I see these two major lines stretching across, and I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna walk until I can get into the line. And then something happens where one of the lines that I'm closest to, there's this massive gap in the line. I'm like, I guess I'll just slide in right here. And so already we're winning. And I'm like, wow, I just jumped this entire line. But I listened to my guidance on where to move, right? Now, here it is. It's so important to keep fear out of your ear. So I'm talking out loud when I saw the gap. I said, whoa, I don't know where it begins. So I guess I'll just go here. And then there's this guy with his family. He's like, oh, well, I guess as long as no one says anything to you. And I completely ignored the hell out of this person. I'm like, nope, nope, thou shalt not enter. I don't care about that. Nope. Because the space, I could see it carved out. I could see this was for me. I can't tell you how many times I have had experiences, especially in light body, when we were in the solar plexus in the first phase, seeing how life requires this level of assertiveness with your guidance. And if you don't take it, you miss your window. And I've seen this in so many iterations, but for lack of time or respect to the time, I'll stop there. So I'm in the line and it's moving. And I'm like, holy crap, it's moving so fast, you all. I'm over here trying to read my book. Arnold Ehret. He's the guy who brought forth the idea of mucusless diet. Diane did, I think she covered one of his books, Rational Fasting, probably, right? Was it that book?
We did the mucusless diet.
Okay, mucusless diet. Okay, so I'm reading another one that's really about the gut and the stomach, and it's a short read, but I'm telling you, I have a backpack. I'm traveling light and a small little bag with my drone, and I'm holding it in my hand, and I got my book in my hand. The moment I lost count how many times this happened. The moment we move forward, I drop my bag. I look at my book. I could barely finish a sentence. Oh, I got to pick my bag back up. I got to walk again. Put my bag down. Try to read my book. Yeah, I got to pick my bag back up. This just kept happening. I was like, oh my gosh, I should just not read. My guidance said, keep reading, stay focused. And then, but also within it, I saw the need to bring myself up, stay sovereign, stay free above any suffering in the field. Surprisingly, it wasn't dense. It was no. So I noticed that with the clearing, but there's still this idea that you got to keep yourself in check, right? So fast forward, we're still in the line, and the guy who was trying to put a fear in my ear something happened in the line. You know how you go in a maze and then the line broke off. Like one of the guys on the floor moved one of the poles or lifted the barricade and said, "All right, everyone go through here." And I was like, "Oh my gosh." And I ended up passing beyond him, but I could feel him like, you know, staying above it. So I get through. Yes, I saw ICE agents. It was pleasant. Not saying I'm cool with them, but it was a pleasant experience. Then fast forward, I'm on the plane. And this is an experience. Well, so first off, that very successful. I got through TSA in well under an hour. And so I've been hearing reports of 3 hours, 4 hours, like just crazy, 5 hours, just insane stuff, well under an hour. And the clearing was moving. And then lastly, this speaks to what Tiffany was talking about regarding negativity rising up. There was a family with these 2 little babies. One was probably looked like he was like 7 months, super young. And then the other looked like he was probably around like 1 or 2. And this baby just kept crying. It's like, and I'm in my zone. I'm just in my body. I'm cycling energy. I'm tuning stuff out. But man, this baby is crying. And I'm thinking, okay, air pressure, altitude, there's, sensitivity to that. And then I hear my guidance say, send the baby in Lakesh Veritas. Let me tell you how sending in Lakesh Veritas to the baby, I couldn't even finish the activation. The baby stopped crying. This happened 3 times on the flight. 3 times. Twice with the youngest and once with the older. Where I did it, and then the baby stays silent. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So this seemingly negative experience, it showed me the power, of sending oneness and truth to release the suffering. That little man was suffering, and it wasn't so much that like I'm not trying to hear a baby cry. I was like, ooh, something needs to happen. And so I'm just so grateful for the experience. There's a lot of other things that have happened since then, since I've landed, but just being able to have a different experience. I would say to conclude this, the thing that stands out for me the most is that I can have a different reality than what everyone else is experiencing. We do not have to suffer. We don't have to subscribe to that. And that's what was happening. I could see how there are all these different voices trying to get into my head to get me to contribute to the fear. And I'm like, nope, 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 nope. And so that's my story. And again, the relevancy and the timing of this was Lauren's idea to pick this topic today. It couldn't have been any better. So honor, respect, and gratitude. I don't know who wants to take the floor at this time.
I will jump in. So what's coming to mind, what you shared, Tarvars, but also this is going back a little bit to what Tiffany, you shared. You both are you're sharing an experience where you were the actual clearer for your travel. So it brings back this idea and this understanding that you are the clearing. And that is something that we learn in the very beginning with quantum light property clearing, that when you clear, that clearing holds as long as you hold the pitch within yourself. And so for you both to take the action and the engagement to be vigilant and to literally take action, to do the thing and continuously check in and bring yourself up. And, your experience then shows and reflects all of that. Opportunity arises, experiences within humanity to connect, to release suffering, to bring 2 toddlers together, to, all of that is indicative to this understanding that you are embodying and embracing the information as a clearer to help reset and restore truth. And so that really stood out to me. I have another thought, but I know, Tiffany, I feel you. You have something to bring forward. So I'll hold.
We always have something, right? This is so good. How can you? So a couple things. One, this always check, never assume, be specific. In relationship to travel, it's hard to do anyway. to keep yourself on that mindset. But it's really hard to do when you've booked a hotel and booked a flight and you're super stoked to go somewhere, to still always check, never assume, be specific. And for Christmas last year, one of my our daughter's best friend moved away. He moved away a couple years ago, and we FaceTime with him, but we still haven't seen him in person for a long time. And she's been begging. She's like, I'll take no Christmas presents, no birthday presents. Can we please go see him? Can we please go see him? And so finally this year we did. We still gave her some presents, but we also made a little paper airplane in both of their favorite colors and put it in this huge box. And it was to go see him. That was her like big present. So that was Christmas time. We're supposed to go early February and end of January, beginning of February. And we all get sick. Like, not like, okay, we can kind of just move through it. Like, we're throwing up. We can't get out of the bathroom. We're moving through stuff. All three of us sick for like 24 hours. And then we're supposed to leave a few days later. And I'm like, honey, I just don't think we are. Obviously, we're not supposed to go right now. I know we bought the plane tickets. I know I cleared the hotel. I know that people say this is a hotel you can never get ever. It's in this cute little town and we got a room. We're going to have to stop. We're going to have to cancel the trip. And I say to her, because I've taught her to also check with her own body. Now, this little tiny child, well, she's 8, but she's still, tiny enough in terms of not an adult. And I've taught her how to check with herself. And it's really hard when you're super stoked to go see a friend and you're kind of weak from throwing up for a few days. Anyway, she checks and she says, not supposed to go, Mom. And then she cries, but I want to, but we're not supposed to go. And I'm like, I know, I got the same answer. So you know how this goes. We do what's in our highest and best interest. And so then we're like, okay, we check on the new date and we book the new date, and this hotel that's never available is also available for the new date. Not only is it available for the new date, but our plane tickets are free to change. And the new date that we've chosen actually happens to be her friend's birthday, which we had totally forgotten. So she now gets to see him on his birthday. Not only is it his birthday, but Mardi Gras, not like the New Orleans debauchery Mardi Gras, but apparently it started in Alabama. And so this like kid-friendly Mardi Gras is happening that he told us about when he moved there. And we're like, we're never going to come for that. I mean, come on, this is silly. We're never going to make a trip for this. It happens to be that day that we've now booked for. And it happens to happen in front of this hotel. And so the path has been cleared. The hotel has been cleared. This new travel plan has been cleared. And we get to the airport. We're all very excited. She has a little less energy than I would expect that morning. And we're in the airport and we're sitting there. We get through, same as Tarvars. The stories weren't as interesting and noteworthy, but TSA breeze. Like, we get there 2.5 hours early, never an issue. We're sitting there. We have plenty of time to actually, get to our flight and relax before. All of a sudden, she seems really, really tired. Then she starts to feel hot. I'm like, what is going on? This is not something that we just got over being sick. This isn't a typical experience. But I knew that we were still supposed to go. I kept asking, I kept checking. And so we got on the plane. I had no fear. She's starting to run. That morning, mind you, my guidance shared with me, bring a thermometer. I've never traveled with a thermometer my entire life. But I'm like, okay. So I put a thermometer in the bag. I also put other medications in the bag, like belladonna and other things that would help, reduce the fever. So I didn't know why I was guided to do that. I did that anyway. And we get on the plane. I can tell that she's really hot. When you're a parent, you don't need to always take a temperature, with a thermometer to know how hot they are. And so the cheek does all the things. I'm like, yep, higher than you expect it to be. So similar to what Tarvars did, I send her the frequencies of Invocation Veritas, and then I hold her and she rests on me and I just send her light. I'm talking like this child is glowing with the amount of light that I am sending her. I am re-adhering to the clearing. I am sending her Invocation Veritas. I am sending her light after light after light after light. By the time the plane has landed, her fever has gone away. Then she still doesn't have energy. We keep moving on to our flight. My husband has to carry her the entire massive distance in the airport with all of our luggage. We make it happen. We get there. We get to Alabama, and come to find out now that when we're there, she starts running a fever at night. I do the same process again. I've never once have had this thought, gosh, why did we come? I just knew that we were supposed to be there then. And so this was something that had to be worked through. And this was something that also had to show me that the more light you hold on something, the more light the negative will move through. And so I did it again. We worked with her throughout the night. She woke up the next morning. She was perfectly fine. We go out into the town. All of the little areas where there are trees in the town have all of our favorite flowers, these gorgeous violas all around everything. Every trash can has violas growing next to it. There are violas everywhere. We're so excited about this. Then we're supposed to see her friend for his birthday, or then we go to her friend's house, spend time with them. Then we come home. The next day, we're supposed to be there for his birthday. He had just been with, spent the weekend with his father, which his family isn't, his parents aren't together, and it's a negative situation. So he ends up getting sick, which happens every single time he's in that situation. We all know he's not contagious. He's getting rid of negative. I bring black salt over. We do Ho'oponopono. I give him Invocation Veritas. I clear the path again. Mind you, I've also cleared his house because I knew we were going to be over there. So he's getting rid of things. No one's worried about anything. We're just all happy to still be together. And so instead of going bowling for the birthday party, we spend it at the house. And what could have been this debacle, this frustrating experience, could have seemed all negative in all sorts of ways to people. There was so much buoyancy the whole time, from the children, from us, from the experience. And it allowed me an opportunity not only to see the power of Invocation Veritas, like Tarvars was talking about, but also sending light, also clearing the path. But then it also opened up opportunities for things that I could share with the mother of this child on how to keep that negative off him always. And when he comes home every single time, he's in a salt bath. When he leaves, he has date seeds in his pocket. And so it just brought forward. And I don't know if we would have had the experience that way. I don't know if I would have seen the negative physically get out of someone in that way after it had attached to someone. And so there were so many lessons and learning in this. And we still got to, have fun. And this Mardi Gras that was in front of our hotel, they threw stuffies, like literally, like stuffed animal. They did throw some beads and things. No one was falling around drunk. There were not boobs anywhere. It was children everywhere. There were stuffies. There were felted flowers. There was some like candy things thrown. I mean, I can't imagine a more gentle approach to Mardi Gras, but it was lovely and fun. And it was wild. So I could go on and on, but that's what I had to share.
Yeah. Tiffany, again, these super detailed, juicy stories. It's so many sides to this. I will just say this because I want to be in respect of the time. Well, there's two things. How light, I heard Lao Tzu's voice in my head. Light is the great purifier. You sending the intentionality of the light to your daughter, like literally it moves through the darkness. Like we have that capacity, and some of it is just knowing that we can. But like you said, the experience, trusting your guidance and listening to them, it allowed for that to unfold and reveal itself. I don't know that it would have happened in that experience, right? Like maybe at another stage, because it's almost like what's meant for you is meant for you. But within that, nestled within that experience, it's like listening to the guidance brought that forth, which is the
And
other point I wanted to share.
the love that we, like, Kevin and I kept just, it was just love, you know. And then when he was carrying her through the airport and we were dragging all the luggages, that light and that love, which is all the same thing, right?
Yeah, well, that's another facet of it. Actually reminded me of another thing that I noted down, where you're detached from what you see in the field. It's like, I know I see this, but I'm going to broadcast this instead. Yeah, I see this, but no, this is what it's going to be. And how we stay in our power. And it's such a power move. It's so beautiful to see. But the other point I was going to make was really tuning into the guidance. And even though people listening may or may not be practitioners of quantum light property clearing, or may be in tune with their guidance in varying levels and degrees, but your story of you and your daughter learning to demagnetize and detach from the desire in detriment, right? How many times have we went after something even when we can see we're bumping up against a wall and still trying to force something to happen? And I heard Lao Tzu's voice, there's no force in source. That's one of my favorite quotes. It has helped me immensely with integrating light. Like, you don't got to strain your buck cheeks and, force the light into you or through you. There's no force. You release and relax, and then you allow. And it's that same idea. And it's this idea of when we listen and, well, first off, trusting that the foresight that our guidance has for us, like, greater things can happen beyond just this one incident or this one thing that we're attached to, and knowing like that's how it works. And it's like, no, we got you, but like, to get where you really want to go, we're gonna have to let that go, and we got to go forward a little bit. And your story just spoke so beautifully to it, especially seeing Jade's response of, I'm getting no, mom. But I want clear enough to get the truth. That's all I know, which is hilarious because most adults can't even do that. I'm just saying, no offense, but it's the truth. I don't know if Diane or Lauren has any thoughts on anything shared, because again, there's just so many points that, of course, we can go on and on.
Yes, thank you for all these wonderful stories and listening to the guidance. Yes, I was taken with Jade also saying, "No, Mom." So that's so wonderful, though, that she can grow up learning this as her own, knowing this as an adult as she grows, instead of learning it as an adult, where it's a little bit harder to incorporate. She trusts herself, and that's awesome. That's a kudos to you for bringing that forward to her. Yes, thank you. And
Yes. Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the word heal is in quantum light property clearing. So this idea of healing on a multitude of different levels is a part of your purpose of being in service as a clearer. And by doing that, you have facilitated healing for yourself, for Jade, for this other young boy, and allowed yourself to step into more of who you are and your elevation. And my dog agrees on that.
Yeah.
It also brought to mind, and I'll keep this a very brief story, but it helped me remember an experience I had with my sister just a handful of months ago. She was traveling and I'm at home. I'm sitting in my house, and my sister's in New York. I think it was at LaGuardia. She's on an airplane for multiple hours, just sitting on the runway. And I didn't know. All of a sudden I get a call and she goes, do you think you can help me clear something? And I'm like, well, where are you? What are you doing? I didn't know what she was doing. She goes, well, I'm sitting on a plane. It's been like 4 hours and we haven't left yet. Apparently there's some kind of like delay or interference in Chicago. So we're stuck here in New York and we can't go anywhere, and everybody's getting upset and we can't get off the plane because blah, 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 blah. This whole story, right? The saga. So as she's talking, I'm literally feeling everything she's saying about all of these energies of all of these individuals that are frustrated. I'm like, got to get out of here. We got to keep moving. Are we going to get off? Are we going to stay here? Are we going to go to Chicago? All of this unknown. And so I'm like, okay. All right, give me a minute. I'm going to get off the phone. Let me ask. Let's see what we can do here. So I hung up the phone with her, and I asked, it was the first thing I asked spiritual committee, are we able to clear this? Is this something we can move? And I got a yes. I'm like, okay, all right. Is this flight meant to take off today? Yes. Okay. What do I need to know? Because now that this showed up in my experience, this is my experience. What is it that I need to know? The first thing, clearing mind, comes in: stalling, stagnation, delay. What is it within you, Lauren, that is stalling, stuck, stagnant, delaying, procrastinating? Clear that. You must clear it within you to be of service for your other self. So I go into Ho'oponopono. I go into Ho'oponopono and I clear and I clear and I clear. And then I call upon the elements and I ask the elements to assist, whatever it is in Chicago. All right, go, clear, be, whatever that is that the universe allows to assist with this. Shall we make this so and so it is? And I just sat there in that energy. And then they shared with me, when you call your sister, because she asked you, you may share with her that she must clear that also within herself. And so I call her back, and I was told then from guidance that the plane would take off in about 10, 15 minutes. So I called her back. I shared this with her. I thanked her for the opportunity to clear it within me. And I asked her, what is it within you that you're delaying on, stalling on, stuck on? Is there something that you're hesitant about? And she was able to identify. And I said, you know, it might be wise for you if you choose to move into some Pono and clear that up. And so she goes, I can do that. I can sit here and do that. I kind of understood that. and as we're finishing the call, I hear, and she goes, you're never going to believe this. Loudspeaker, flight attendants, prepare for takeoff. And I'm like, thank you, Quantum Light Property Clearing. Because all of these understandings are understandings you learn as a clearer. That everything outside of you is an opportunity to clear within you. Through Ho'oponopono, you may make the shift and change for another person within yourself. So I benefited, my sister benefited, the airport benefited, the plane benefit, the people benefit. It's a win-win for everyone. So it was kind of cool. So that was inspired from what you shared. Wanted to bring that forward. And that anyone who's listening, if you find yourself in that position, maybe you're at an airport, you're traveling, anything that shows up that might be negative or an interference, go within yourself and ask, reflect, what is that that's showing up outside of you that you may clear by moving into a higher state within yourself so that it may clear outside of you. Those are practical solutions that you can do in a real life experience in the real world for real change.
Well, certainly. Very powerful experience, Lauren. I'm like, man, I didn't know we were coming out with these stories this evening. So their story, though, it's so deep because it spans just reality, you know, beyond just clearing spaces or travels. It's something that we as humans have to learn to adopt if we desire to be within our power as a conscious creator of our reality, to be able to influence this field in the direction that would be desirable, you know. And we've got to see that as us. And in the energetic protection and defense class, there's a small little technique. We say, I am free, I am sovereign, I am one with all that is. And then you raise yourself up, you pull your life force from the base of your spine up to the crown, get big, take up space, and realize that you're one with all that is. But at the same time, it's, you know, it's paradoxical. You're connected to the space, but you're not. You know, it's like you're an individual, but you're part of the whole. And that does require some get your left and your right brain working together to perceive that correctly, you know, and habit and conditioning. But the greater truth is that the moment we can pull back, we get the information from the field, recognize, yo, that's me, because I'm experiencing it. And now I'm experiencing my sister, and I'm feeling what my sister. So I'm in there. Let me do something about this. And Pono just being such a simple yet practical tool, which is a clearing tool in and of itself. Many of the people who pace with us, they know that that's a staple, and it's so simple, but it's so powerful because, again, it provides the opportunity for release. Because one of the things that I've noticed, especially being in the light body movement, I'm always going back to the solar plexus because, damn, that's where we are so hung up. Yes, it's everything. It's all the things. But this over externalizing ourself and our identity into the field, into something that's out there. And it's like, go in the house, go back inside, correct you, address you to address that. And, it does require some time to move ourselves into that space of like, okay, nope, let me take a step back. What's inside of me? But once we start getting the habit, it's like, we have these type of magical experiences where I see like there's no limits. I see where this is how we take back our power from the different institutions and the governments who we've given authority to. We have outsourced it, and then act like, oh no, that's Trump. Damn, Trump crazy. Oh man, why is he doing? No, that's you. This is a reflection of America or the world, etc. And how you feel about it requires you to do something about it within you, from a point of strength, not from a point of weakness. So the oneness, as we say in Lakash, or sending the activation, it does release the suffering. We stop suffering. We stop suffering on the tarmac for 4 hours plus when we say, no, this is me.
Enough is
and
enough.
She had the nerve to say, you'll never believe this. Of course you'd believe it.
Of course I believe this. I even thanked, after we hung up the phone, I thanked the universe. I thanked clearing that my sister got the message to think the thought to call. That's how powerful it is. It's in the lineage. Your lineage, and this is a whole nother understanding when one day we'll talk about ancestors, but they are so integral as allies within quantum light property clearing. They were allies that also assisted in bringing us property clearing. So your ancestry has every bit of an opportunity to pick up what you learn simply by allowing yourself to free yourself. So that was very powerful. Yeah, I'm not sitting on a tarmac for 4 hours. That's just not happening.
No.
I've decided. No suffering there. Let's not do that again, Renee.
So,
yeah, before you go. Yes.
But it served the whole. Now we know.
Yeah, that's right. So did anyone have maybe any final thoughts to conclude our session today? Because again, I lost count of the stories, and each story was just nestled within it so much richness that could be unraveled, and I enjoyed it. I'm thoroughly enjoying these sessions. It looks like people in the comments are enjoying it and gaining value. Diane?
I wanted to say just something real quickly, just to reiterate what Lauren is saying and what we're all saying, that we are the clearing. So for any clearers who are on the line, this must have been like 6 or 7 years ago, Tarvars, when we had this conversation about when you're clearing, to see yourself in the clearing and how that changes everything. And I remember the day that you said that to me. From that day forward, that is what I have done. And even just today, I was clearing my space, and every single thing that came up, every single thing, I saw it in me and cleared it from me as I cleared it from the space. And the lift off of negative and what happened in my experience after that, it was so palpable and so tangible that I immediately had to get in the salt bath afterwards. Like I was like, I have got to, yes, I need to immediately continue this clearing and clear the clearing and all the things. And it just makes such a difference. And so we always say, when you clear, you get cleared. But when you clear with that understanding that you are the clearing, and everything outside of you is inside of you. And as you are clearing the interference patterns, as you're clearing the gunk off the couch, as you're clearing the low vibrational energies that came in with the food that came into your home, you're clearing that from you. When you're clearing the bees and the rocks and the trees and the air, you're clearing all of that congestion and everything built up in yourself as well. And so it makes such a difference. And not only for a personal benefit of the clearing and for the space itself, but the clearing holds that much more. And then you are shifted that much more from the clearing. And so when I talk to, and I know this is another topic for another time, the details of it, but when I'm clearing for realtors, I talk to the realtor about why they were attracted to that house and what I needed to clear from that house, and why what I cleared from that house is something that also needs to be cleared from them. Not only the people who lived in the home, but they were a frequency match to list that home. And why it needed to be cleared from me, because I was a frequency match to clear the home. I mean, like everything is one thing always, right? But the depths and the beauty and the level of benefit from clearing is just beyond.
Heal.
I feel like Tiffany's story is like, you get a clearing, you get a clearing, me get a clearing. I want to say something really, really quick, and I'll keep this brief. Again, I continue to allude to light body because this is where a lot of the concepts at the most practical level are being applied. When we think about the torus field, it's like period, the end. This is the mechanics of consciousness. It's an enfolding, unfolding field. And when we tap into that, there's power because it's the truth. Truth is so powerful. Like that's what I could see within what you were saying. I mean, there was so much more, but for people who are listening, like, how do I become one with the thing? How do I stretch to see myself more into it? Because sometimes oneness seems like a vague, almost like lofty concept. Like, how can I be one? Like, this is how you be one. You see that's me, and I think one way is understanding that mechanic of our field and how all fields operate, electromagnetic fields. And again, there's power in the responsibility. So again, it's just so good. I feel like Diane had something to say though. Did you?
I just wanted to ask, Lauren had a lexigram. I didn't know if you wanted to share that before we ended tonight.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Very excited to do this. So one came forward, and for those of you engaging, lexigram is literally it's bringing forth a truth. So you take a phrase or a name, and you rearrange the letters so that other words or anagrams come forward, and you can create a poignant truth or a story or a phrase from those letters housed within that main word or concept. And so quantum light property clearing, we spoke about this in our last podcast talk, but another one came forward, and this is literally a story. And it, as a clearer, for those of you that know and understand Light of the Sun will understand this. But for those of you that have not engaged with her yet, she is the architect and the embodiment of the divine feminine light that has brought us the gift of property clearing and its creation with the allies and all that is. And so these words are all words housed within quantum light property clearing. So here's the lexigram. In a motherly earth act, Laota create quantum light property clearing to clear the earth plane and help heal human hurt o' the heart. Her heroical triumph to reach real angelic light can champion an era of hope in any city, any country, any place, any home, anytime. Amen, Leota. Honor, respect, and gratitude, Mom.
The truth is in the words. It's holographic.
Yes.
That was fabulous. Thank you, Lauren. What a great way to end our session tonight. And hopefully that will give information too to people that are new, that don't understand yet what quantum light property clearing is. And hopefully they'll call for a discovery call. You can contact Of the Sun for a discovery call if you'd like to find more information. And there are some other links in the description for classes and different things. So Our next Quantum Light Property Clearing Chronicles will be April 24th. So it'll be the 4th Friday, and hope you can join us then. And thank you everyone in the chat. Thank you for joining everyone. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Does anybody else have any other comments?
Just thank you. I
Yes.
thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. It's stimulating. It's a great way to have spend a Friday evening. So thank you again.
Absolutely. And to all of you engaging, listening, sharing in this space with us, immense gratitude. And to each of you, to Tarvars, Tiffany, Diane, for sharing your light, and to Lota for inspiring this within all of us. I'm so grateful and so honored. And Lakesh, everyone.
Yes.
And to all that is,
everyone.
yes, in Lakesh and Veritas.
Yes. Thank you. And we'll see you next time in Lakesh and Veritas with honor, respect, and gratitude.
Mm-hmm.